Welcome to Chapter 12, Bootstrapping and Crowdfunding for Resources, from the Entrepreneurship, the Practice and Mindset, 2nd edition. So what is bootstrapping? Bootstrapping is not about tying your shoes, really. Bootstrapping is one of those concepts in entrepreneurship is by obtaining financial resources for your business. So it's basically starting really small and really lifting yourself by own efforts, right? It's really applying 8 principles of entrepreneurship. So we'll talk about that. And it's a way to kind of think creatively. Some of the best businesses that we know of today started really from bootstrapping, right? Tommy Hilfiger, the brand, the clothing empire, the guy started selling the clothes from the back of his trunk, right, of his car. John Paul DeJour, who has the Paul Mitchell hair products, went from salon to salon, door to door in a sense, from salon to salon to sell his products, and as an effort, a way that was his bootstrapping way. And so we're really going to talk about those ways of doing things in your business, because at times your resources are very limited, so you have to find creative ways to get your word out. And so bootstrapping or external financing, and real quick, the applying the principle of entrepreneurship, right? Identify your desired impact in the world, start with the means at hand, describe the idea today, calculate affordable loss, take small action, network and enroll in your journey, build on what you learn, and reflect on being honest with yourself. So bootstrapping or external financing really is about procuring resources without any long-term external financing. So usually long-term or external financing would mean, like, if you get a business loan for 3 years or 5 years, however you get your loan, right? That's a long-term financing that you're obligated to pay that loan back, whatever the interest rate is, or risk having your business or something from the business taken away from you, if you of course have equity financing, or it depends on what type of finance you get. But with bootstrapping, you mitigate that risk because you're not really going into no long-term external financing. And also, the reason why businesses bootstrap is because it's really hard to find investors. You always hear in the news about these investors, investing in big-time startup companies, mostly the big hardline, the big venture capitalist companies, the ones with billions of dollars. They tend to go and invest in the next Google, the next Facebook. There's millions, if not hundreds of thousands of startups out there, and they're only probably going to fund a handful of them. So investors are really, most of the time, investors really want their money back quickly, and they're only going to invest in the ones that they know they're going to make 10 times more than their investment. So of course, your businesses always have a tough time selling to venture capitalists and even banks, right? Banks really are not in the business of startups. They want a hardline business that has been around for a while with good finances. The entrepreneur who bootstraps needs to be clear about products and goals. They need to be crystal clear. An entrepreneur who bootstraps a business with a good product market fit, a committed team, and a decent customer base is a much better negotiation position with investors should they express interest in the business. And so that's one of the things about bootstrapping, right? The bootstrap startup, the shoestring norm. Beginning a business on a shoestring is the norm. Building the business slowly is like to generate a larger customer base as well as a steady stream of income. Many entrepreneurs use their own salaries to fund their startups until they secure enough to leave their full-time jobs. So that's one of the things too, right? For example, I Tank, if I said that name wrong, if you know the online form builder Jotform, he juggled his job and his startup for several years before he focused only on the business. So one of the ways that you could do it is, if you have a full-time job, that could, you have to juggle 2 things, which is really difficult to do at times. Because if you don't have enough money in your business, to just launch and go yourself, to pay yourself, because at the end of the day you have to get paid bills. It's really hard to do so. So a lot of people juggle their full-time job and the startup uh, as business starts growing. Financing could be cash from your savings or salary. Uh, Carefully use certain credit cards to fund your startup at a salary from your 16 job. So you could use your own cash. Don't. I would warn to not cash out your 401k. Some people, I've heard some people cash out their 401k to start your business or to finance your business. That's really risky, because if you cash out your 401k before you're gonna have to pay taxes on that. And what if your business goes upside down? Now you've lost all your 401k or a bulk of it, and now you gotta restart again, which is, can be difficult. So people use up their savings. I've heard of people save up for a year and use that savings to finance their business. Sweat equity is another one. You'll put in a huge amount of effort to get the business up and running. So basically, what sweat equity is the increase in value of ownership interest created by someone as a result of hard work. So you'll hear that term go around like, hey, I built sweat equity, meaning I put in a lot of work into this company, basically without pay, and my hard work deserves some type of benefit, whether it's by ownership or some type of compensation later on down the road. Be careful with sweat equity. If you do that route, get it in paper first before you do anything. Last thing you want is to put all that work and not get paid for it. Bootstrapping strategies involves being creative and using resources. Again, one of the things about bootstrapping is keeping cash really low and not spending those resources. You should focus on the amount of cash you have at your disposal. Be very creative about bootstrapping. There's this company, I think it was the Dollar Shave Club, who created this YouTube video, and that was basically their budget. They created this YouTube video on a very low budget, and the YouTube video went like viral for the Dollar Shave Club. It was like their first one, and it went viral, got millions of views, and that really boosted up business. That's a form of bootstrapping. And as I mentioned earlier, John Paul DeJour, he started Paul Mitchell hair products, going around from salon to salon. That's another way. Tommy Hilfiger selling it out of the back of his trunk, his clothes. That's another way of bootstrapping. So you just got to be creative with the bootstrapping strategies. So crowdfunding versus crowdsourcing, right? Crowdfunding raises cash for a new venture from a large online audience, right? The emergence of crowdfunding, raising cash for a new venture from a large audience, mostly doing as a new pathway for many. Because banks are very difficult to get loans from, and venture capitalists only focus on a small number of startups, and people really don't want to cash out their 401k. They don't want to go and, get loans and, bust out their credit cards. They go out for crowdfunding. And that is a new way to entice a larger audience to invest in their business. Crowdfunding, it draws a small amount of contributions from a large number of people. It works by drawing small contributions to do that. So you may see some crowdfunding sites that say, hey, you give $100, you get this. If you give $1,000, you get this. So those small incremental resources for the crowdfunding helps build a company. Crowdsourcing uses inexpensive labor from enthusiastic, like-minded people. So crowdsourcing uses the internet to attract, aggregate, and manage inexpensive or free labor from enthusiastic and like-minded people. So crowdsourcing to improve medical treatment. So gamers in the model of retrovirus enzyme. Gamers in the model of a retrovirus enzyme. So in 2011, the University of Washington's Department of Biochemistry challenged a group of gamers to produce an accurate model of retrovirus enzyme that came from AIDS-like virus through playing an online science game called Fulgencio. The players managed to produce an accurate model in just 3 weeks, beating the experts who had been struggling to find a solution for over a decade. Another example of crowdsourcing here is the WHO set up a crowdsourcing initiative since then. They, of course, set up a crowdsourcing initiative with experts and non-experts to solve health problems and then share the solution with the public. So that is an example of crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing to reduce labor costs. Harness creative talent through crowdsourcing or websites. Of course, the X Prize Foundation harnesses a foundation focused on trying to find solutions to social problems through competition. So the X Prize Foundation, on a much larger scale, focuses on trying to find solutions to problems such as air and ocean pollution and adult literacy via competitions. One of the things too about harnessing creative talent through crowdsourcing or websites is, of course, that X Prize Foundation. Technological advances, right? They are reducing the cost of designing and manufacturing cells. So entrepreneurs with product companies find the low cost of 3D printing and other tools that enable small companies to become micro factories quite exciting. So you have like free softwares like Google SketchUp to use 3D model for their own invention. So once your prototype is approved, you can have it manufactured. There's companies out in China or similar countries like Alibaba that list Chinese manufacturers that can, of course, produce your product for yourself. Crowdfunding, raise resources for all types of businesses. So crowdfunding has helped raise billions of dollars for all types of businesses out there, from the arts to photography to charity, retail, fashion, gaming, real estate, and way much more. It has basically become a very democratized way of raising money for upcoming entrepreneurs. Again, as I mentioned, banks are very nervous about lending money, especially to startups, and investors are more cautious than ever. Investors are not just going to freely hand out money to any startup. It has to be of value for them. Then it has to, pay very quickly, very fast. So crowdfunding has become a democratic way of raising money for upcoming entrepreneurs. So, approximately 34 billion was raised in 2017, and of course, it's growing tremendously now, and it's only going to grow more. And so, if you go to crowdfunding sites, you just Google crowdfunding sites, and you'll see some good ones out there. You put up, here's my business, here's my product, this is what I'm trying to raise. And you just let the public know and see what happens. So of course, there's two types of the types of crowdfunding sites. One, the U.S.-based Kickstarter is the most known crowdfunding site. One of the things that the crowdfunding sites do, like Kickstarter, is that they make money from charging the processors fees. So, for example, a while ago, I did put one of my startups in a crowdfunding site, and one of the things it did was, once I raised money, once I wanted to cash out the money, it collected a percentage of that money that I raised as a processing fee. So that's how they collect their money. That's how Kickstarter makes their money. And of course, backers were similar. So when people contributed money, they would get a reward. So sometimes, if you contribute $50 or $100, you get a T-shirt. If you contribute X amount, you get this. There's other ways. Indiegogo, one of the largest global fundraising sites. Of course, as a person, you just create an account and you go in, and then you give them money. One of the things you got to be careful, though, is that it may fail. So your money goes into it, and the product or service or whatever it may be, it may not even jump off and start, or it will start, but it probably won't grow to what you thought it would be. Equity crowdfunding gives backers the opportunity to become shareholders in a company for those startups that are seeking investment in return for their shares or equity. That's called equity crowdfunding. It gives backers the opportunity to become shareholders. So there are sites like Crowdfunder or AngelList, CircleUp, provide investors with the opportunity to invest in companies in exchange for ownership. So that's a growing amount of too that people want to take ownership, and you can invest money. Just be very careful and read the fine line when getting involved with equity crowdfunding. The patronage model basically refers to financial support given by backers without any expectation of a direct return to the donations. So this is one, of course, patrons give option to fund illustrators, authors, independent creators. Lending model, of course, that's typical, right? A loan being repaid. So I give you this loan, and I'm charging you interest on it, and um, I'm gonna get my money back plus interest. That is one way that for a long time our businesses have functioned. Reward-based crowdfunding, it involves rewarding backs for support. Entrepreneurs often give unique offerings rather than giving precious equity or large shares in their profits. Entrepreneurs give rewards, so samples or experiences or T-shirts, a welcome party or something of that sort. The investor model, that's if when you get an angel investor or a venture capitalist who says, I want 10% or 5% of the share of the company, with millions of dollars in investment, and of course that's the typical investor model. The advantages of crowdfunding for global entrepreneurs is that it saves money on marketing. One of the things about these crowdfunding sites is that it's already built, so you just put your information. So you're basically on a platform with millions of people from around the world to look at your product or your service to see if they're going to invest in it. The problem is too, one of the not downfalls, but challenges, of course, is that you're facing a lot of challenge with getting the eyeballs of people, right? With so many out there, like how can you get yours to the top? And of course, build a relationship with customers, spread the word, you make new contacts. Of course, crowdfunding involves stock commitment and hard work. Make sure your product or service solves a real problem. Again, create what people need to buy. One of the things is that people are not going to pay for something or buy something or pay into it that they don't believe that solves a problem. So you really have to convey that create what people need to buy, right? Convey this message to your backers and communicate in 2 sentences or less. So you be very precise and quick. Test and refine your idea. Essentially, to successfully crowdfund, test, refine, plan. You're going to have to continuously test and refine your idea. Go out there, get some information, and refine your product or service. Be prepared. Many entrepreneurs fail to plan for the delivery. So again, you have to prepare for advance with suppliers, distributors, and customers. Don't overpromise and underdeliver. So you don't want to overpromise that you're gonna have all this product and then underdeliver on it. So there's a lot of things that go into play with if you have tangible products. A lot of things can go wrong with the suppliers, the distributors. So be very cautious and prepare for everything. Seek and accept advice. Some of the best entrepreneurs are the ones who seek and accept advice. Don't be naive and don't think you know it all. Get feedback. Get constructive feedback on your ideas, on your product or your service, and don't be afraid to ask for that and accept it. Get your campaign started now. So again, if you have a customer base, start it. Money matters. Make sure some of the financing beforehand. Start a funding goal. Do your finances, right? Do your financial homework. Focus on the pitch. Make a video effective. Again, be very effective as to how you illustrate and how you portray yourself. Make it as error-free, and don't say outlandish things that it's not going to help your pitch. Make the most of the crowdfunding opportunities, and of course, get feedback. Commit to your campaign, right? Make sure you have a dialogue. If people contribute, make sure you respond to them and tell them thank you. Avoid the crowdfunding curse, right? There's this thing about crowdfunding curse. Delays in delivery and failure to deliver the promise of rewards are a big no, right? One of the things that really irk people when they deliver, when people put their product out in crowdfunding and the backer expects delivery at a certain time, if you continue to back your delivery and by dates, keep backing it up, keep backing it up, people are going to get frustrated, and then they're really going to go at your company and write bad reviews about you. Again, you want to be careful as to what you promise to the backers. Backers who've been disappointed can ruin your reputation. Again, if you again, people are very cruel online nowadays. So they will go on your social media, they will go on Google and start writing bad reviews on your company, which is not good. And so that is it. This is chapter 12, bootstrapping and crowdfunding for resources from the Entrepreneurship, the Practice, and the Mindset second edition textbook.